star-bellied sneeches had bellies with stars, and the plain-bellied sneeches had none upon theirs. Those stars weren't so big, they were really so small. You might think such a thing wouldn't matter at all. But because they had stars, all the star-bellied sneeches would brag we're the best kind of sneech on the beaches. With their snoots in their air, they'd sniff and they'd snort. We'll have nothing to do with that plain-bellied sort. And whenever they met some, when they were out walking, they'd hike right on past them without even talking. Like a cow walking through tall grass, I'm utterly tickled to be with you this evening. Now, a few months ago, I had an opportunity to go on a work trip to San Francisco. We were entertaining some clients at a baseball game, and then we were staying the night in the town. So after a long evening of entertaining our clients and sharing a little bit about what I do for my job, we stayed in probably the nicest hotel room I have in my entire life. This thing was really high-tech. So after I removed like the 60 pillows that they always put on the bed, I don't know why they do that, but after I removed all the pillows and got my pajamas, it was time for me to hit the hay. But there's only one problem. I could not figure out how to turn off the lights. This hotel is so fancy, there's no light switches in the room, and everything is controlled by a tablet, which I can seemingly not find the menu for turning off the lights for my room. So I figured, you know what, it's okay, I'll just unscrew the light bulbs shamefully and just go to sleep. But this hotel is so new that all the lights are integrated LEDs. So I turned it on down to the receptionist and sheepishly asked, how do I turn off the lights in my room? And after they answered my question, I was around the corner waiting for the elevator when I heard the following conversation between the receptionists. Are our lights really that hard to figure out how to turn off? No, don't worry about it. They're just farmers. Just farmers? Just like those sneeches, by human nature, we have a hard time treating everyone exactly the same. Sometimes this is a good thing. Take veterans, for example. Those who sacrifice so much for our country deserve different treatment than the rest of us. But what happens when that treatment is used in a poor way? This is called marginalization. The treatment of a person, group, or concept as insignificant or peripheral. And agriculture has a marginalization issue. We're going to dive into the 3 ways in which agriculture is marginalized: socially, economically, and physically. And then examine 2 ways in which us in this room can help with this. So first, marginalization of agriculture socially. What does this look like? Well, as many of you probably know, there are less of us in agriculture than ever before. At a peak in 1840, over 70%, or almost 70% of the workforce in America were employed directly by agriculture. But by 2010, this had shrunk to just an amount of 1%. To put that in perspective, according to statistics that came out in 2018 by People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, they boasted membership of 6.5 million in the United States, with those directly employed by agriculture only amounting to 2.6 million. Our special friends are almost 3 times in volume than us. No wonder agriculture sometimes is seen as insignificant or peripheral, with such a dwindling amount able to join the ranks. Beyond just the quantity of those of us in agriculture, the composition brings its own set of marginalizations. In 2017, according to the American Immigration Council, 41% of those of the American agriculture workforce are immigrants or foreign-born. Along with these different cultural issues, and we all know immigration has a host of problems, even our occupation carries its own marginalization. The Center for Disease Control tracked farmer suicide from the year 2000 to 2016 and observed a 34% increase. Now imagine if there was a 34% increase of suicides in college students, for example. This would be a national crisis, front page news. This would be an executive workforce, Congress take action now. But when it comes to agriculture, seemingly only a few articles that barely garner enough attention. Agriculture is socially marginalized. Beyond just being socially marginalized, agriculture is economically marginalized as well. Many of you are probably familiar with the basic business model of running a farm, where we typically sell our products to a food company who then sell it to consumers. But those food products and food companies have been the target of one of the biggest trade wars in the world's history. Now this is really critical, because when our importers of our products, those who purchase our food in other countries, are unable to secure American products at a fair market rate, they shift their supply chain. And when American products are available at an economically comparable rate, they may choose not to switch back to American products. Agriculture receives $11 billion annually in the form of subsidies by our government. But just this year, President Trump has announced a $28 billion temporary relief package because of the farmers' impacts from the trade war. The biggest controversial bailout of all time, the big three automakers in 2009, was only valued at $12 billion. And the entire oil and gas industry's entire subsidies annually only amounts to $4 billion. Rather than listening to farmers' concerns and our desire to have long-term committed impacts, where we have access to markets for long-term, we instead get temporary mandates. And when we do have access to those markets eventually in the future, we're not even guaranteed if we can be competitive again. The agriculture industry is getting tossed around like a pawn and seen as an insignificant player because we apparently do not have enough of a voice and instead just get temporary relief. Agriculture is economically marginalized. Which brings us to our third and final way in which agriculture is marginalized: physically. By nature, farms are in rural areas, and agriculture industry is the stewards of much of our natural resources and should be seen as key players in environmentalism, cultivating sustainability, and guarding natural resources that are below the land, such as water, natural gas, and oil. But considering where agriculture is, we don't have access to the tools that the rest of the world does. In an article that came out just 2 weeks ago, 60% of farmers say that they don't have a good enough internet to run their business. Let's put that into perspective. In 2018, the agriculture industry contributed $113 billion to the American GDP, which means $80 billion of our GDP came from agriculture, which had limited or no internet connection. Can you imagine this for any other industry? Imagine textiles or even high tech, where 60% of their contribution to the economy comes from a place with no or limited internet connection. Agriculture is physically marginalized. So why does this even matter if agriculture is treated as insignificant and peripheral? Well, let's look at the data. 100% of people in the United States rely on agriculture on a daily basis. And even when we zoom back for a global perspective, 100% of people in the globe rely on agriculture on a daily basis. It is evident that this is critical. So the question becomes, what can we do about it? Before every semester, I go through the exact same ritual. I pull out my laptop, I log in, and I sit there just waiting to push that button. And many of you probably experience this as well when you click submit to pay your tuition. Now my wallet weeps for weeks after. I check my bank account paranoidly, can I afford the Taco Bell run? But there are some striking similarities between us as college students and agriculture. Take access, for example. Just like you had grades in high school and your test scores, you probably applied to multiple universities or not. But based off of that, you probably either decided to go to ones you got accepted, or there might have been one or two where you thought you should have gotten into, but were denied. Agriculture faces a similar question. With one of the most affordable and safest food supplies on the planet, we're left to wonder why we don't have access to certain markets. Beyond that, the probably strongest similarity between us and agriculture is that we're both price takers. Tuition is set, and we have to pay it whether we have enough money or not. And many of us will take out loans to complete our higher education. With years of declining farm profitability, agriculture is forced to do the same. Because whatever the market is the price that they are able to get for their goods. According to the Center for Food Integrity, on a list of a trust scale, farmers place third, but food companies place only 11th. So more of our consumers trust farmers more than we do trust food companies who they purchase the food from. There's a little boy at a grocery store, and he's evidently lost. And so the baggage clerk picks him up and says, "We're going to go find your mom." So he puts him on his shoulder, and they take a lap around the grocery store, and they go, "Well, did you see your mommy?" "No." So they go up and down the aisles again, and finally ask the kid, "Well, did you see your mommy?" Shakes his hand again. He's starting to get a little frustrated because he has to get back to work. So he takes him up and down every single aisle. "Well, did you see your mommy?" He goes, "No, but I saw my dad a few times." In agriculture, we sometimes forget to ask the right questions. We know that consumers want to know more about agriculture and the food they eat, but we frequently forget to ask who they want to hear that from. Farmers. There's two ways we can change this. According to the Farm Bureau, only 8% of farms in the United States have a direct-to-consumer product, meaning that the overwhelming number of farms, over 92%, use food companies to sell their products to consumers. So we can do one of two things. We can either adopt a more direct-to-consumer model, or what is much more likely, is that food companies could serve as a better conduit between farmers and consumers. Right now, they're an insulator. Producers sell their products to food companies, who in turn sell their products to consumers. But if they in fact rather acted as a conduit, being able to share the farmers' values, their struggles, their concerns, all of a sudden we have communication from farmers to consumers through who they purchase their food from, the food companies. This is one way we can help combat agriculture's marginalization. Now, the second. I'm a college student, just like all of you, and so I find ways in which I can really stretch my buck. And one of those is thrifting. Whether you're going to Goodwill or a local thrift store, we all know what we're looking for. It's that cool pair of Levi's, a new party shirt, a smoke jacket, whatever it may be, we are definitely looking for something we can get the most bang for our buck. Agriculture needs to go thrifting. If you can recall from earlier, we know that we are a dwindling amount of our population. And so the people that have agriculture backgrounds are absolutely essential. Earlier last year, my parents had the opportunity to host a group through a DC exchange program. A member of the Environmental Protection Agency, a member from the Center for Disease Control, and a member from the Foreign Trade Service. And as we were having this dinner conversation over things that were happening in the government, the top policy issues, we asked them what was the most difficult part about dealing with agriculture regulations. And they said, quote, "The people making them don't understand agriculture." Now, if we take a step back and get a refresher from government class, we know that Congress passes bills that then get signed into law by our president. But these laws are intentionally vague. For example, it may say that all milk in the United States must be pasteurized. Once the president signs that bill into law, he will assign it to one of the agencies in the bureaucracy to be interpreted, the rules written up, and then enforced. So in the milk example, it's probably likely that the United States Department of Agriculture or the Food and Drug Administration will set standards for what is pasteurization, at what temperatures, for what period of time. What documentation do we need to have when we pasteurize our products? And then how will that be enforced? Do I need a USDA inspector every day on site? Do I need to send my records directly to the government once a week? those decisions, the regulations, the rules, and how they're enforced are all generated and produced through the bureaucracy. Agriculture needs to fill the bureaucracy. We can no longer complain about the government not understanding agriculture if we're not willing to be part of the solution and join the ranks to ensure that agriculture's regulations understand agriculture. As college students, we should consider the government for working in the bureaucracy an excellent job. They have great benefits, to say the least, and you'll have a chance to impact agriculture in a significant and meaningful way. But it's highly likely that all of us are going to go work for the bureaucracy in this room. That doesn't mean that you get a free pass. All of us, with an understanding of either agriculture as literacy or our background, need to be leaders. That may be in your community, or joining your Farm Bureau leadership program, in the Rotary, as a local elected official. We need to make the most bang for our buck with those that are valuable to the agriculture industry and those that understand agriculture. Agriculture is currently experiencing a brain drain, where our brightest minds choose to leave the industry. And this is extremely concerning, because not only are we not replenishing our own ranks, but we're losing opportunities like to work in the bureaucracy and make positive impacts and steps in the right direction. So there's two main ways that we can fix marginalization. Food companies as a better conduit, us getting involved in the bureaucracy and being leaders. But the big question is, why does marginalization of agriculture even matter? Well, we need a seat at the table. According to the Farm Bureau, if the American agriculture industry was a standalone economy, it would be the 16th largest economy in the world. When agriculture is thought as insignificant or peripheral, we're not invited to the crucial conversations that agriculture needs to take part in, whether that be in trade, environmental and sustainability, tax policy, reform, or immigration. Agriculture needs to have a seat at the table. Which brings us back to our sneeches at play. Plain belly and star belly in that land far away. Learning to care about each other indeed, because only together can sneeches succeed. Agriculture needs to communicate better. We do. To consumers, to government, it all starts with you. As a conduit for farmers, food companies must serve, sharing their values and struggles for all to observe. Those with ag backgrounds cannot go amiss. Stepping up as leaders, it all leads to this. We are the future, and improve we must. Because if we do not, then the future turns to dust. Thank you.